Hello again, this is Irv, and in this video we're going to be diving into exporting subtitles out of Agisub and making a video with the subtitles burned into them. Depending on your budget and other criteria, maybe your audience, maybe teenagers are really used to hearing the English version of something, but reading the subtitles in their language. Or maybe just for budget reasons, you want to try a subtitled version first. For whatever reason, I'm going to show one way that I know of that involves using something called the Tmpeg program. And there are probably free ways to do this. I'm not familiar with that. This program costs about $99 or 60 euros, whatever that is. It's a great investment if you're going to do any of this kind of work. And so that's the process that I'm going to talk about here. So you can go to this website, tmpeg-pegasys-inc.com, pegasys.com, and this product, Video Mastering Works 5, is what I'm going to be talking about here. So pay your money, download that, install that, and that's a great way to do subtitles. Oh wait, let's back up a second. Something really important I got to tell you first. Remember we were talking about those loops where multiple people say the same thing. I'm going to go in, I'm going to hit Control F and search my text for goodbye. And here is a loop where they're getting kind of their pep talk from Nador, and at a certain point Nador says goodbye, and then they all say goodbye, the 5 or 6 people in there, and you record them saying goodbye or be careful or different little ad-lib lines. That's great. Each of those is going to show up in your script, particularly your actor order script. See how there's a loop 381A, B, C, D, E, F, for each of the voice, Serator, Sombra, Urgel, Carden. That's great. You want that to show up here and tweak that as a translator, whatever you want them to say, or let them make it up. But if you're generating subtitles, you don't want all this stuff probably to show up here. So one thing that you should do before you export this is to get rid of that extra stuff and or just change the line. So let's say that I'm gonna make a special version of my translation and save the subtitle file as German subtitles, just so I can keep this later. And this is just sort of a subtitles temp file. I'm not going to treat that as my source. It's just the last step. I'm going to delete some of these things out before I send out my subtitles. So I would go in here and these other lines, mark those, delete them so that I only have one. And maybe if you're describing it, it's going to go into a subtitle, then you just say group saying goodbye, or whatever you want to explain, that they're all saying goodbye, but have that one loop in there. So how do you know if maybe there's some other lines like that? Well, a way that you can find out, if you remember this little TK1 thing up here, if you search in that effect field for TK2, normally I said they're always TK1, but if you find a TK2, here's another one. Up in the control room, laughter, they're all sort of chuckling at this moment with Kartan and Nuta, but you can get rid of these additional ones so that only one title will show up there. And then let's do that search again, see if there's any more. Yep, here's the one with Ergo and Nuta mocking without historical knowledge. So let's just get rid of this one. delete lines. So then this German subtitles temp file we did, we'll just save that in case we want to come back to it. But now that we have done that, then we can export, do this next export step. The first thing that you would do is you need to export the subtitles out of ACdkPt3, and this little export subtitles export button, and we're going to send them to something called the SRT format. ACdkPt3.srt. I think it stands for, what is it here? Subrip, some format that they came up with. And we're going to export that file right there. Save. And we can go ahead and get out of ACdkPt3. Now if I look in the translation directory, there's that file. Okay, and before I run Tmpeg, I mentioned that we have things in square brackets that are sort of direction to an actor, and things in parentheses that are sounds they need to make, like a laugh. If you want to strip those things out of the subtitles, I have a handy little utility that programmed here called the ACsub helper project. And what you do is you would open that SRT file that we just created out of ACdkPt3, and there it shows up. So for instance, if I search here on, here's the first place with that line in square brackets, mocking without historical knowledge were easier to govern, parentheses, they laugh. So let's say I don't want any of those square brackets to show up in my subtitles. So I just click that there, and this program sucked them all out. And let's say even maybe you don't want any, if the things in parentheses, if you translated and had something in parentheses for the accuracy, if you don't want those, then you can hit that button and they're gone. Or if you toggle it back off, then they're back. Either way, let's say I just want to pull out the things in the square bracket. Once I've done this, then I can save it back out, and maybe I'll just put the word clean after it there to save that version of it, and then get out of the program. So now I'm going to run Tmpeg. So I'm running Tmpeg here. Take just a minute. It's warning me about whether it's using the processor on my graphics card. So I'm going to start a new project, and I'm going to grab the video from files. And again, as mentioned in the workprint video, or excuse me, in the README file, I'm going to go up to my source in video directory, and then get the source for all of the episodes, the video file that has no audio in it. And then for the audio, I'm going to go up in the source in my audio directory and get my English mix. Open that up and then hit OK. And now here is my version where I'm combining the audio and the video. And it's a little bit of a kind of interesting interface to get used to. Let me go back to where I was and show you again. Now that I've combined the audio and the video, if I double click on that, there's some things that we're going to do here. And one of the first one is we have to add what they call a filter for the subtitling. So if I just go on this edit filter list, go over here to subtitles, and then add, and then hit OK, it gets added to my list of potential filters. It doesn't actually use these filters unless they're checked, and then it'll apply that to the video. So in this case, there's subtitles. I've got this filter in now. It's going to apply subtitles to my video. And of course, I want to import the subtitles that we just created. And Oops, it's looking in the wrong place, sorry. So go back to the directory where we were, and we'll get this cleaned version that doesn't have the square brackets on it. Open that, and here we are. Now, the different subtitles, it does it according to kind of a layout or a style. And you'll see all of these, it's using layout number 1. And also you'll notice these are really big, and you probably don't want your subtitles that large and the way that it's wrapping it around. The easiest way to fix that, you can get more complicated if you want later, but is to go up here, and this size is not like a font size, it's actually a percent of how big the video is. So let's set that down to about 6%. Hit OK. And let's get like a bright section of the video. And here you can see that it's still kind of high. It's probably a better size, but there's some things we can do to help that out as well. And because we're changing layout number 1, this is affecting every subtitle in the film. So down here where it says use border, this is the border that goes around the each character, and you could change the color if you wanted and how opaque it is, but I'm going to just leave it 100% black. I'm going to say 9, and then if you can see that there, it's a little bit thicker, so you can adjust that to taste. Again, we're going to edit the current layout. Another thing you can do is the subtitle position, picture bottom, computer display, and you'll notice it's lower down there, so that's much better. Let's go to this line here that's a bit longer, and if you want that centered, that's another thing that you might want to have it do for all of your subtitles. This little checkbox here, align line head, if you uncheck that, what that actually means is that then it'll allow that line to be centered like that. If you don't like how big this is, if that's too much text, then you may want to copy this line. As you go through and look at these, if there's a lot of lines that are too big, it's much more difficult and not as convenient to change them here as to start over, go back to ACdkPt3 and split the lines there, and it's easier than doing it in here, in my experience, to split longer lines, but it can be done. So other lines, if you want to add another style, let's say this is, this is for adding a line. If we go to the layout editor, they have different layouts. You can add other layouts where, for instance, here's a line, we'll call this line bottom left, and in that one we can tell it to align to the left side. Didn't quite do that right. Again, this is layout number 5, align bottom left. I need to set the size down to 6, turn off align line head again, and then now you see it's lower down and it's going more toward the left side. So you could have a left side, you could have a right side if somebody's speaking over there, and you could kind of, it gives the audience a clue that the guy on the left is speaking, the guy on the right is speaking. So you could do all that kind of work here. So once you've done all that and you've played through all of it and seen that the subtitles are what you want, then it's time to export them. And if you're going to cut them up into individual episodes, which you probably are going to want to do, then the easiest way, now again, this is for all 14 episodes. So let's say I wanted to cut them up into the first 7 episodes. So here I could duplicate this and do this several times. And then we're going to cut this down to just the episode we want. So right here, we hit Cut Edit, and we go in here to find the start and end of episode 1. As you get close, you can go up here and you can actually scroll through this area, have a little bit finer control. There's a timing blip on the front of 2 seconds before the start of the episode, so we don't want that. So we'd mark that right there and then scroll down to the end of the episode. So there's where the episode ends, the title on the end blips out, and then we'd mark the end of that. So now we have just cut this clip down to the size of episode 1, and you can see right here from 159 to 603 the size of this clip being cut down. Then you have to choose the format of this clip, and here again an MPEG 4. We'll select that. The default settings, probably don't want to mess with this unless you really know what you're doing. 23976 frame rate. So that's a great way to just export something that you could upload to Vimeo or somewhere. And then you want to select the directory where you want the episodes to go. So that's why New Languages, we made a episodes directory. So you can select that. And this one was called right now New Episodes, but I know that I've cut that down to be just episode 1. So if I double click on that, clip properties, if I go up here and call this episode 1 German or whatever your language is, and hit OK. Now when you go to the encode window, and of course you would do this for all of these clips that you're batching up here, rename them, set their format, cut them down to the size you want. So when you click on the button for export here in the window, it's going to show you this is the list of 4 or 7 things that it's going to do as a batch, and only the first one is correct here. These other ones I haven't done yet. But if I were to say yes, it would start encoding now, and it'll send that video with those subtitles out to your directory, and you'll be able to pick that up here. Matter of fact, as it's going here, if I go into episodes, and it makes a subdirectory called Project 1, so that's where your file is going to be put once it's done. And then from there you'll be able to upload that with your subtitles. So I hope that was helpful. If you've got questions, or as always, you can put things on the YouTube page, or let me know and we can respond or post other videos to help further explain things. Thanks for your patience.